Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on. Gotta see it's international. That means you taking interest in world affairs, baby. Ha. Yeah, here we go. Uh-oh. Switch it up on they ass. This is the world party. Yeah, yeah. And you see. They not ready. Take it back for 'em. Uh-huh.
That sound like setup.
Uh-oh. Here we go. What?
Is this a setup? Oh, this is a setup.
What this nigga want? Free Palestine. 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 What if one day Native Americans decided they would land back undivided? How would the world be at? Where would you be at? Whose side are you inclined to back? Forget the fact that there's a major difference. The Palestinians pre-existed European occupation. First British who later passed on to European Yiddish. Victims of the Holocaust displaced who were next when they wanted to go. This place called Palestine came to mind. Historical texts they provided a line that they were entitled for their survivor to return to Canaan. And upon arrival proceeded to settle the land, but it needed cleansing. So Palestinians were weeded. The claims of the Europeans superseded the rights of indigenous people seated in the land where they lived and coexisted with other tribesmen similar and different. This story is so off the twisted to fit whichever faction dismiss this. Honor, justice, rights, trust this. You in trouble when they bust they muskets. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Israel must tear down the 425-mile wall that stretches through much of the West Bank. This, according to the International Court of Justice.
Freedom journalist Amy Goodman reporting.
We're joined now by Dr. Mustafa Barghouti. Welcome to Democracy Now! Dr. Barghouti, can you describe the wall for people who are not familiar with it?
This is a wall that extends for about 752 kilometers, about 3 times as long and twice as high as Berlin Wall used to be, destroying and damaging agricultural areas, uprooting hundreds of thousands of olive trees as has already happened.
Dr. Barghouti, finally, it is not only George Bush who has supported Israel's right to construct the wall through the West Bank, but in a new policy paper, Senator John Kerry has said the security fence is a legitimate act of self-defense erected in response to the wave of terror attacks against Israeli citizens. He says the security fence is not a matter for the International Court of Justice. Your response?
Well, the International Court of Justice is a court that takes decision about international law, and nobody can take that legitimacy from it. But let me say that 900 Israelis have already died, and about 3,200 Palestinians as well. More than 4,000 victims during the last 3.5 years. All these people should not have died. They were all the victims of the policy of occupation.
Free Palestine. 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 Free your mind. Free South Africa. Free. Don't laugh at us. Free Palestine. Free. Open up your mind. Free DC. Free. All from slavery.
Welcome to the People's Dinner Party. I hope everybody had an amazing holiday, spending time with their family, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Here at the People's Dinner Party, we got a very, very, very special guest, straight out of Portland, Oregon, a living legend, a former Black Panther, Mr. Kent Ford. This is who we got for you guys today. It's going to be a great show just before the new year. Peace out to all the volunteers that's helping out in Palestine. We're going to be talking about Palestine as well as the Black Panther Party on the show today. I want to thank a special guest, technical guest, Jinka, a good friend of mine for over it's been like 30-some years. And also an amazing artist and engineer himself, Chris is also helping us out produce the show today. So my name is Sincere Ali Shakur. I'm coming to you straight out of the projects of Cleveland, Ohio, and one of the most underserved projects in Ohio. And we're bringing you some really good information that you can feed not only your soul, your spirit, your mental, and hopefully helps your physical. I also like to acknowledge the struggle that's going on in Gaza, the embarrassment that's going on in Gaza, the gentrification that's going on there. We want to tell the people of Gaza, you know, the Palestinians, our brothers and our Muslim and Christian brothers and sisters there, that we are here with you. And we see what's going on, and we stand against it. Not only do we want a ceasefire, but we want you to have your own state and a right for self-determination. 47, 48 years has been too long, way too long. So all power to the people, all power to those who are struggling in Sudan, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, East Congo. Way to take a stand, and we all stand with you here on the People's Dinner Party. Today we got a living legend out of Portland, Oregon, former Black Panther activist, who's an inspiration not only to me, but should be an inspiration to us all. In his 80s, he's still kicking ass and unapologetic. And with that, Mr. Kent Ford, thank you so very much, sir, for joining the People's Dinner Party today. And I'd like to start from the beginning, your history with activism there in Portland.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And the question that you asked about the history of activism in Portland, it just kind of came by kind of natural, you know, the process of the 60s and just out of the outgrowth of the civil rights movement, the SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Dr. King and the other civil rights icons. And I ran into the guys down in Oakland, you know, and I want to clear that up, you know, former Black Panther, once a Panther, always a Panther, you know.
All right now.
And Huey is the one that brought me into the party in 1970. And actually he approached me in Oakland the weekend he got out of prison for that fry business, you know. And you know, anyway, all that's history now, you know. And let's move fast forward, you know. Huey made a visit to Gaza, you know, in 1971, 81, 82. And he actually shook hands with Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. And the rest is history. And the party had a 10-point platform and program, and you know, about land, bread, housing, food, and we fed over 30,000 kids nationwide, and it's one of the biggest and baddest things that we've done. And we had 2 clinics here. We're the only chapter in the country to have a free dental clinic. Our health clinic was called the Fred Hampton People's Free Health Clinic. We had about 30 doctors, partner, and we opened 5 nights a week, 7 to 10 o'clock in the evening. The dental clinic was open 2 nights a week. And all you had to do was just come in and put your name on a piece of paper. You got a chance to see a doctor, a dentist, you know, and no calls to the patient, no calls to the people that visit the dental clinic. The dental clinic was named the Malcolm X Dental Clinic, and the rest is history. You know, we sustained and maintained these clinics for over 10 years, and you know, we went through the usual COINTELPRO harassment and intimidation and everything, and you know, COINTELPRO break-ins and and all that COINTELPRO stuff, you know. See, COINTELPRO was started, I think, you know, in 1958 it was originally started for against the Red Scare, you know, and then it switched over, you know, to start harassing the civil rights movement. And of course, guys in the 60s, we never knew about all that stuff until years later, you know, and you know, the good neoliberals, they wanted to try to pick your friends, so you can't associate with these people, you can't associate with these people, you know, and on the straight and narrow. And you had Lyndon Johnson in Vietnam. You know, Johnson had 548,000 troops over in Vietnam, and he still couldn't bring the Vietnamese people to their knees, you know. And it was a truly elected program, you know. The People's Dinner, you know, it was a people's war, a people's struggle. And anyway, with all that said, you know, so the party was totally against the war imperialism and the war in Gaza and Palestine, and stand behind the Palestinian people in their struggle for statehood. And my hats off to anybody that's, you know, that's demonstrated and out in the streets, you know, and you know, and marching and protesting in favor of the Palestinian people. And you know, Sleepy Joe, he was on Air Force. He was on the White House in the sky. He was headed over to Tel Aviv, and he must have heard about 6 weeks ago when they first bombed the first hospital. You think he turned around and come back? No. He went over and he looked, and he gave the butcher of Gaza, he gave him a bear hug. And I'm not in the name calling business and none of that, you know, but you know, but that's what it is. It's a total genocide. And I'm just glad I'm old enough and well enough, you know, to take a part, to have a part in it.
From what Jinka was telling me, you've been a part of the protest since the very beginning, you know, and not just standing around talking, but carrying banners for like miles, you know, inspiring people around you in this hard time that we're facing, you know, on this planet. And I'd like to thank you for that, for being such a great inspiration to us all.
I'd like to thank her for just saying that, you know, it's nothing, you know, to get out and hold a banner and march, you know, it's nothing, you know, and it's all part of the struggle. And
Well, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Panther Party in Portland? A little more detail about that, you know, and I think too what we were talking about earlier some weeks ago, it was the history of the area in which you lived in and how it got gentrified. And Jinka, we had a little sidebar conversation a little earlier this morning, and she was speaking on, I think, there was like a Katrina situation where like thousands of black people had died in this flood, and how that, you know, they were trying to, like, you know, get rid of this particular area you guys were operating out of.
Good question and good research on that, you know, and this Vanport, you know, during the big war, World War II, you know, and it had a Vanport, and it was a community set up by the government, you know, and everybody there was pretty much working in the shipyards and everything. And, you know, Portland, you know, it's a port. And so what happened, they had a Memorial Day flood, you know, and after that, the rest is history, and everybody was displaced, and and they moved in, all throughout the Albany area. And the city administration, a lot of the guys moved out here from the southern part of the United States, and a lot of people from the Midwest. And this was the Pacific Northwest,
Right.
And so what happened after the floods, and a lot of people ended up in the Albany area. And Albany, Spanish means white. And so that's been totally gentrified now. It started about 35 years ago. And as a group that has they have a claim in federal court now to contest the move that they made. It was all done by the Portland Development Commission. Well, the head of the Portland Development Commission, he was a guy out of West Point. And I don't need to say no more about that, It was not white supremacists, and it's called Prosperous Portland now. And so they put a claim in against, the hospital that totally gentrified the land. And it was a core area. They had over 100 businesses down there. You had over a couple of hundred homes down there. And they would buy your property, devalue it, and then tear it down. And it's been over 50 years now, and nothing has been put back there.
Wow.
So it was a core area, and that's where we had the health clinic, and that's where we had the dental clinic, and also a legal clinic. And one of the comrades at the party, he was saying, you started out, with a half a dozen guys. We peaked at about 70 guys, and we got in the age we had pretty much weeded down, purged down to about a half a dozen hardcore supporters guys in the Black Panther Party here in Portland, and we had the same police harassment, same three-letter guys harassment, and and it would take me all day to go into a lot of details. And again, I want to allude to the break-ins, the harassments, and we took up actions with the peace movement, the Vietnam peace movement, and the rest is history. We sold the party papers every week, and we had good communication with the guys. See, Seattle was the first chapter outside of Oakland, and just in the bookstore yesterday, and Aaron Dixon, he has a book out called My People Are Rising. It's a pretty popular book.
Right on.
But anyway, but I want to go to again go to Palestine. You notice the shift. The lady from MSNBC. Even Michelle Alexander. Whose husband is a federal judge. But Michelle Alexander's sister. She's a professor down at the University of Oregon here. That's about 90 miles from Portland.
Wow.
And also, her husband was he wrote one of the icon book on the party, and he took him 8 years to write the book, and so I think both of those guys now at Arizona State University. But again, I want to thank everybody for coming out for any kind of support for Palestine. And and there's no time for us to fence straddle, sitting on the fence. It's time to keep it in the streets, And after George Floyd, Portland, Oregon, we led the nation and the world in the protest. We sustained it for over 100 nights. And we built on this all the way up to Memorial Day 2020. And these were the biggest protests in American history. And I like to go there, and you could, like in 200 from being 8,000. And Portland, Oregon, led the way. So we out here in Portland, you know, we don't have to take a back seat to anybody. You know, we had the Proud Boys here, Q and you know, the Oath Keepers and all that. You know, the same guys that went into the Capitol back there where you at. You know,
right
on 1-6 a couple of years ago. And but anyway, you know, all that's good. You know, but I want to say it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And again, everything go around, come around, you know, and you know, and I want to emphasize, you know, about Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, you know, where they still holding guys there. You know, they call it the 150-year prison, the forever prison. And wow. I had lunch with a lawyer the other day, you know, and I talked to a lady with the Human Rights Watch. She visited Guantanamo Bay 31 times, and then she said, Mr. Ford, it's just too depressing. I just can't go back there anymore. And she sat right here in the living room and interviewed me, you know, and she sent me one of her books she put out on Guantanamo Bay. But they're still holding guys there, you know, and you know, but anyway, it's something the Western world, young man, it's got against the Arabic world, you know, and you know, and it's right there in Fanon's book, The Wretched of the Earth, you know, dirty old Arabs, dirty old niggers, you know, they kill you on the native street corner, you know.
Right, right.
And you know, and I was just out talking to people, you know, and talking about the mass murders, you know. Johnson was a mass, and Nixon was mass murders, and Kitchener was mass murders in Vietnam. You know, I don't like to go there, you know, and Biden, he's a mass murderer, you know. And Sleepy Joe wouldn't know whether he was in Tel Aviv or D.C.
Yeah.
You got people quitting from the State Department, you know, over the U.S. policies, you know. But mine, you know, it's going to come back and bite him in the ass, bite him real good. And then you have what they call it, what's the new word that got out about the lady at the UN? A black lady, you know, they go along with everything they do, you know, intersexual imperialism, I think is what they call it, you know.
Right.
And yeah, and if you know, if you read, I like, you know, I try to keep up on things, you know, and I realize, you know, I'm slowing down a little bit, you know, and sometimes I don't think I am, but I
don't look like you are to me.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. That's nice of you to say that.
No, you don't look like you're slowing down at all. You know, me being a little younger than you, you know, I get frustrated. You know, I guess there's other people out here that get frustrated too, because it seems like the more aware you are about European imperialism and how it's so barbaric, and it doesn't, I call it the beast, how it doesn't care who it eats or what it eats. You know, it has no loyalty. You know, for those black people who think that I'm just on Palestine, nah, you know, I connect with the folks in the East Congo, those children in those mines, in those cobalt mines, who are being murdered and beaten and raped. You know, the men, women, and children who are going through that. You know, the reason why we're able to have this telephone conversation is because, you know, a 6-year-old, you know, is digging through mud, you know, in a T-shirt, you know, hopefully to earn just enough money to get a little bite to eat, you know, and I'm down with Burkina Faso pushing back in Nigeria, you know, pushing back, you know. I'm a little afraid for Nigeria because I don't want them to jump out the frying pan into the fryer, because, you know, they pushing France and U.S. away, but hell, they making friends with Russia. But I guess when you're under that type of oppression, it's easy for me to make an observation from the outside in. You know, when you're under that type of pressure and trying to get free, you know, I guess sometimes, you know, you make strange bedfellows trying to get free. But I just don't want them, because to me, Putin and Biden is the same. You know, I had a friend of mine, Cooper Andrews, who joined an anarchist rebel group in the Ukraine, and to fight back against, you know, the Wagner group and Putin. You know, what they doing over in Ukraine. You know, it broke my heart to see like a little baby. It looked like a child, a little girl in her diapers. She has this big hole in her wall, and she's holding her doll baby. And there's an F-14 or a jet flying right by her to bomb the rest of her neighborhood, you know, in Ukraine. You know, and this is not the world I want to live in. This is not the world I want. I mean, I already knew that European imperialism was a monster, but, you know, for them to drag the Palestinians out in the middle of the world and execute them in front of all of us, it's heartbreaking. You know, how am I supposed to go back and act normal and participate in your voting and you know, and all the structures here when I know that my government, you know, is using my tax money to drop 2,000-pound bombs on babies, you know, and starve people, cut off their water and their electricity, seeing these babies in these incubators dying. 85,000 pregnant women was in jeopardy, you know, of poor health care because of this oppression that's been going on for over 40-some years. So it's very, you know, sir?
We have a senator here in Portland, Oregon, you know, he actually came out against the war in Palestine, you know. And, you know, and I was just, to add to what you were saying, you know, I just reading in Al Jazeera, you know, about over 230 American cargo planes is landed in Israel.
Right.
You know, well, you know what that's about, you know.
Full of weapons, yeah.
And so it's a jumping off place, you know. And how do you get over 20,000 people dead in less than 90 days? How do you get 2 million people displaced? If you could explain that to me, I'm willing to listen. But you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just heard it last night. Everything's got a shelf life. Everything's got a shelf life but God. God is the only thing that don't have a shelf life.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. You had mentioned Mr. Aaron Dixon a little earlier, and I had met him years ago at a Black Panther reunion in D.C. years and years ago. And and I would love for, you know, the listeners to pick up his book. But at the same time, you have a book too, as well, right? And where can we get that?
You can get it at any bookstore. You know, it's called The Portland Black Panthers by Justin Jeffrey.
Okay.
He's a professor. I was just texting him yesterday. He came out about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's called The Portland Black Panthers. And it's a lot, and then had another one out here too, you know, that's a little more detailed, and it came out in the last couple of years. And,
right.
Lots of articles, and in newspaper articles. And one time we stopped talking to the mainstream press, mainly because we couldn't get any fair coverage, you know.
Right.
But, you know, there was plenty of garden variety of other coverage, you know. And some things you just can't sweep under the rug, you know. And we were out on the streets every day organizing, you know. We were out on the streets every day. And we were on the street corners every day talking to the old-timers, the young people about the war in Vietnam. And the same thing, you know, that's happening now with the people about the war in Palestine. And I just want to say this, you know, and back in the day, in 1964, I'm going to go back a ways, we had another senator in Oregon. His name was Wayne Morris. And he was the only U.S. senator then that was against the Vietnam War.
Right.
And anyway, he passed away. He asked to visit the Fred Hampton People's Free Health Clinic. And he
right on.
And he was against the Vietnam War, and he spoke his mind, and he died. He was running for re-election. He died before being re-elected. But Oregon has a history of taking a solid stand on international issues, you know, and wars of imperialism. And you know, young man, you can't save your ass and your face at the same time. You can't do that. And you know, you never cross over. You never go to the other side. You never kiss up the power.
No, sir. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. You know, when I had first come into contact as a kid, I was watching with the Panther Party. It was a PBS special on Chairman Fred Hampton. And I believe he was like 20, 22 at the time, and he had all these clinics and children's free breakfast programs and the nature, you know, of the Panther Party, you know, matched my spirit of, you know, wanting to see justice and not taking no shit, you know,
exactly.
No compromise, you know, when
they're
it
going
comes
to have
to freedom and justice, sir.
Yeah, they're going to make it passed the city council. I was just on the phone with a sister. Both her parents were in the party back in Chicago, and they're going to have over 50 landmarks there in Chicago that's dedicated to the Black Panther Party, even where they used to hold their secret meetings. And I ran into Fred, and same way here in Portland, where we have the health clinics and dental clinics, they're making historical landmarks out of those spots. You're out this way, I can take you and show you, you know, and where the landmarks are. We never knew they were going to do this, you know, but you're out there talking on the streets with the people and say, we got your back, and they had our back, you know, and we get arrested, you know, they're calling somebody to come down and see about us, bail us out of jail, you know, and that's what happened in those days. And I got some memories, real powerful memories, you know, back about some of the incidents down there. It was a core area, you know, and like you have in any city. And it's just like an area you say where you at now. And
for me, go ahead.
It's just you know, and feeding kids, you know, and the minister where we had the church at, where we fed the kids in the morning here in Portland. Right. He said, "Kid, you know, don't be teaching the kids. Don't you guys be teaching the kids hate, you know." And that minister was something else, boy. He was crooked as a barrel of snake, you know. And I said, "Oh no, we're just going to feed the kids and have people that help them with their homework so they can get off to school, you know."
Right.
And a guy approached me one day. He was out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And he said, "Mr. Ford, you guys going to start a breakfast program?" I said, "Okay." And he says, "I'm a cook." He said, "I'd be love to come up there and cook every morning for the kids if you guys can pick me up." You know, and he did.
God bless them for that.
But that's how things were coming together, you know. We had over 30 doctors, had a dozen dentists, you know, and a lot of that is in the book, The Portland Black Panthers.
Right.
21 days into the onslaught on Gaza by occupation forces, and death toll reports don't stay accurate for long. The numbers of Palestinians murdered by American-bought Israel-fired bombs goes up by the hundreds every day, as reports flood in from under the bombs across the Gaza Strip. The entirety of Gaza now faces the brutality of Western democracy funded and supported Zionist fury. Occupation forces have committed atrocities and war crimes against Palestinians that will likely go unpunished, although the entire world is watching this genocide unfold in horror. They're committing international law violations by the day, including the forcible transfer of people, discernment, proportionality, collective punishment, ethnic cleansing, and genocide. The U.S., too, has blood on their hands. At this moment, occupation tanks are advancing in their ground invasion into central Gaza near the Al-Burj refugee camp. White phosphorus is reportedly being dropped by the occupation army above northern and central Gaza. Mass bombardments and airstrikes are exploding around the Shifa hospital complex, and over 640,000 internally displaced Palestinians from the occupation's eviction orders and bombings are sheltering inside of UNRWA warehouses, which are now operating at 4 times their capacity. As reported by Middle East Monitor, 45% of housing units in the Gaza Strip have been destroyed. 7,028 Palestinians have been killed in besieged Gaza and over 110 Palestinians killed in the occupied West Bank. All of this since October 7th. And the numbers jump horrifically with each day while the far-right extremist Israeli government intensifies its bombing campaign. 24 journalists, 29 UNRWA humanitarian aid workers, 28 medical workers, more than 14,000 wounded, more than 1,600 people, including 900 children, are missing and feared to be trapped under the rubble. Dozens of mosques lie in ruins. 15 of Gaza's 32 hospitals are now inoperable, and medical staff at the remaining facilities are operating under conditions with no electricity, very little water, waning medical supplies, and traumatized staff working around the clock to treat the wounded and intake the dead. As Palestinians enduring this horrific living nightmare in Gaza have pointed out, nowhere in Gaza is safe. Occupation forces blanketed the north with leaflets telling them Gaza was now a battlefield, and if they wanted to live, they needed to flee to the south. Taking a fascist stand, the ethnic cleansing extremist government under terrorist Netanyahu's erasure of Palestinians in Gaza, dehumanizing Palestinians, and refusing to recognize any Gazan of being civilian. With many leaving their homes and another Nakba project from the north, occupation army persists in bombing central and southern Gaza, killing those who heeded their evacuation orders, with every border sealed shut and supplies cut off. In the occupied West Bank, the occupation army raided Jenin early this morning, killing at least 4 Palestinians. Simultaneous raids were executed in Nablus and Hebron. In Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa Mosque is being restricted to Palestinians ahead of Friday prayers by occupation cops who are pushing them back with stun grenades and skunk trucks. U.S. President Joe Biden, who hugged war criminal Netanyahu within hours of the Al-Ahli hospital bombing, which killed hundreds of Palestinians, went on television yesterday to claim that the number of Palestinians' casualties was a lie. The Gaza Health Ministry responded today, releasing the names of the thousands killed by U.S.-funded occupation bombs. According to hospital reports, 47 Palestinian families have been completely erased from the civil registry. In southern Gaza, peace activist and founder of the Great Return March Gaza Border Resistance Movement in 2018, Ahmed Abu Atima's family was murdered by occupation airstrikes, which claimed 5 members of his family, including his son. The news comes quickly. The whole world is watching. So who profits? In the UK and the US, organizers have been shutting down a company called Elbit Systems, who, while Palestinians are being terrorized and ethnically cleansed in Gaza, are collecting a profit from supplying arms to the occupation's army. They supply 85% of the occupation's drone fleet, along with bullets, tear gas, and internationally banned weapons. Check out PalestineAction.org for more information on shutting down Israel's arms trade. Don't let this conflict happen in a vacuum. The whole world is watching, so keep watching. Beyond an end to the bombardment whose proposal in the Security Council has been consistently held up by politicians with narrative agendas who are willing to let babies die rather than relent, we will not let history be written by these people. And amplify voices from on the ground in Gaza. Follow and share our movements on the ground like Save Sheikh Jarrah Now and the Good Shepherd Collective, as well as Palestinian journalists like Yuraid Bilal Khaled, Ayman El-Gedi, Motaz Aziza, Ghazi Al-Alul, and Wa'el Al-Dahdu, whose wife, son, daughter, and grandson were killed under occupation bombs the day before yesterday. I'm going to end with his words in the aftermath of learning of their murders. Quote, "It's my responsibility to quickly come back to report, despite the pain and bleeding wounds I am feeling, that I'll meet you behind the lens of the camera. Victory to the Palestinian resistance."
Could you tell us this one more time? Because I was so astounded by the numbers of children that y'all were feeding daily. I mean, I was so floored. How can you tell us how many children daily was the party feeding in Portland?
We would feed up to anywhere from 25 to 125 a day.
Damn.
And then the minute we got our breakfast program started, a week later, the governor of the state of Oregon went on a statewide TV and announced that the Portland Public School was going to have a breakfast program. So
right.
The good neoliberals, they went to the governor and told him that the DPP was starting the breakfast program, and a week after we got ours started in Portland here, he went on statewide TV and made that statement.
Right.
And let me tell you a quick story about the health clinic.
Okay.
COINTELPRO clinics. You see now, I know you know this. If they don't come after you, you're not doing nothing right. And you know you know when they come after you, you're doing something right. You know,
right.
and you keep doing it. And you keep doing what's working. Well, they went down a complete list of the Montgomery County Medical Society and sent letters out to all the doctors, encouraging them not to work at the Fred Hampton People's Free Health Clinic.
Mm.
And that's the treachery. And they were going to open up another clinic out in Southeast Portland and encourage all the people to come there. I never knew this until I got a call from a reporter who told me that story and read the actual letter to me. And we were about 4 or 5 years into the program. Operating at the free health clinic.
That's amazing.
But let me tell you, let me tell you the feel good part of it. Kids still come up to you today, over 50 years later, and just say, you used to feed us at the church. You know, we never knew, you know, that we were just doing it. You know, the comrades would come up there in the morning and start serving their kids bacon, eggs, 5 o'clock in the morning. Man, we'd be loading the trunk up at the car, up with bacon, eggs, pancake mix. You know, what the feds call weapons of mass destruction. You know.
I bet they did.
Yeah, and bacon, eggs, pancake mix. Headed up to the church to feed the kids, you know. And a lot of the comrades, you know, not around anymore. You know, a few of us left. 3 of us are left still standing, and you know, we never knew that we do the walking tours here too in Portland, but we never knew all these years later that we were going to be doing these walking tours, you know. And we didn't plan these tours 50 years ago, and we didn't all the landmarks and everything. We didn't plan none of that, you know. Right. We live like people. The brothers and sisters in the party, they live like people that was already dead, you know. And that it was just our job just was to live from one day to the next. And they came after us with everything. They came after us with everything they had, and you know, from the courts, treachery, and also the middle of the roaders and the fence straddlers, you know, and they even recruited a lot of the the ministers and a lot of the black studies departments in some of the colleges and universities.
They're doing that today.
Yeah, but power to them.
They're doing that same thing today. Pardon self. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, Mr. Ford, but you'd be surprised at the numbers of pastors who done signed on to Homeland Security.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
Well, look here, partner. That's where the bread's at. What's the Homeland Security budget? Over $30 billion.
Right on. Right on.
But wait a minute. I got something good to say about them too now. But I don't do the preaching. See, we had a 10-point platform program, and one of them is number 7. Want to immediately end the police brutality and murder of black people. Mind you now, young man, check this out. That was written in 1966, and today, and every day since they started tracking these police murders in America, it's always around 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 every year in America, all across the country. Blacks getting dusted by the police. In the whole European Union, you know how many people got killed by the police? About 10 people last year.
Wow.
And you go to Jeffrey Sinclair in Counterpunch. He runs it down real good. And
Jeffrey Sinclair.
Jeffrey Sinclair, yeah.
And who's Miss? Is this the same Sinclair out of Detroit?
No, he lives in Oregon.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's a different one. Yeah.
Okay.
And and there's another writer, that writes. He's at Columbia. Herman DeBesse. He writes for Al Jazeera. He writes for Middle East Eyes. And he's spot on. And they first started tracking these murders. The Washington Post. And the Gray Lady back in New York, which is the New York Times. I call her the Gray Lady. But anyway, the Washington Post started tracking these police murders in America back in 2015 during the Obama administration. And ever since then, it's always over 1,000 every year. But somewhere I heard, and I think it was when Ta-Nehisi Coates and Michelle Alexander and had this program back in New York about Palestine. Right. That and the guy who wrote the book of the 100-Year War, I think he's at NYU. I think somewhere I heard, I don't have all my notes and figures right here in front of me, but anyway, I heard that the black ministers took out like Trump did, they took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for a ceasefire back in New York. Well, I thank them for that, Right.
But Mr. Ford, another thing that I wanted to touch on that popped in my mind too is, I feel as though the world is in a lot of turmoil right now because of the unbalance of all this super masculine energy and our disrespect of the divine feminine. I saw a long time ago that not only did I want to motivate, little boys, but just as important, I wanted to motivate little girls too. And with that said, I know that the Panther Party, even though it may not have been a perfect model at the time, but the Panther Party was one of the first organizations that had female leadership. Can you speak to that, with your party in Portland?
Sure. What happened here, Portland especially, the brothers in the party, your young brothers, the young comrades, they put a steel curtain around the women, And you say, we don't mind you messing with us, but you leave those guys alone. They run the breakfast, they do the shopping, they make sure that the comrades eat and everything, they look out for the kids and everything, and so they put a steel curtain around them, and well, some of the women, some of them got the big head behind that, you got to kind of, pull them in, reel them in a little bit, and it wasn't our job to reel them in, you let life do that, and so then I want to talking to some of the comrades and some of the reunions, a lot of the chapters had that same problems, that it was an old thing, where the brothers put a steel curtain around the women about say we don't mind you taking us to jail or sending us off and stuff like that, but that's pretty much what happened in a lot of the chapters. And I remember that happened a lot here. That happened a lot here in Portland, and then they were in charge. They were in charge of the intake at the health clinic and the dental clinic, scheduling the doctors and the nurses and the support staff and the dental hygienists and everything. And they were in charge of all that, We were in charge, and they would also be out in the community selling papers,
right?
The party paper, And I'll never forget one day at the height of the Vietnam War, and even Wayne Morris said this. He said when they first started bombing North Vietnam, they had no air defense,
right?
And same thing, guys. They don't have no air defense, but you're dropping 2,000, 10,000 pound bombs, and even Wolf Blitzer, young man, the other night on CNN of all places, he got on one of the Israeli colonels there. He said, "You after one guy and you bombed the whole neighborhood and killed over 300 people," and he said, he asked him point blank, "Did you get it?" And the guy, the colonel said,
"I saw that interview. I saw that interview."
I said, "Well, I'll be there. Look at CNN, and but this is unprecedented. Just yesterday I was reading. After this, we're gonna want Hitler back. This man is cut the cake,
Well, I think it's kind of funny that the two things that the Israeli government, Netanyahu and them, and the Nazi regime in Germany have in common: American businessmen and support.
Sure.
And support.
Exactly.
Operation Paperclip. When they took all the top Nazi scientists, and brought them here. To help develop NASA and a few other things. It makes me angry because I love orange soda, but every time I see that Fanta orange soda, it just reminds me of that was the Coca-Cola's made that especially for Nazi Germany. And IBM helping with the computer system to keep track of the Jewish people that they were, executing and murdering and such. I know Mr. Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, along with Malcolm and others, will call America the Great Satan. And it's proven that. I had a little toy giveaway, just to clarify. I ain't really down with the whole Christmas thing. I just do it, for the kids. I live in the projects, we, at the very bottom, where we don't really have the luxury of personal development because we have to survive. We're on that survival thing real hard. So, so some of the, I had some volunteers, some suburban housewives, And I know these women for about 6-7 years. And their tune politically is also changing as well. You know, not just on CNN, you know, about, you know, this Palestinian war. And it's not even, I don't know why we even call it a war, because, hell, a war requires two to tango. It's just,
exactly.
just slaughtering folks, you know. And
they know it. They know it. You know, and I never thought after Vietnam. You know, I thought maybe, you know, kind of learned the West tried kind of learned the lesson. You know, you had the French there first. They fought the French. Then they fought us. You know, and when they first saw bombing those people, you know, I think, who was it, Kennedy, and he was going to pull out of Vietnam, you know, and you know the story, the historical thing about the chickens come home to roost and all that business, you know,
right?
And see, I didn't come into the VPP via the civil rights movement, the outgrowth of the civil rights movement. I came in via the Vietnam War. And I was opposed to the Vietnam War. I had a friend out of Chicago, and he moved out to Portland, Oregon. Here, he and his brother had a service station, you know. And we got to talking, and they were Puerto Ricans out of Chicago. And boy, he had been in the Navy, and boy was he ever right on, you know. And so he died in a coal mines accident, you know. And he and I went to hear Wayne Morris that night speak at the Memorial Coliseum. And he had 4,000 people there that night, you know, talking against the Vietnam War. And he actually heard Malcolm X speak in Harlem, you know.
Right.
And we'd come over and we talk just like you and I are talking now, you know. But anyway, you know, and again, we got started, you know. We got started organizing, and we started recruiting a lot of Vietnam vets coming back from Vietnam. And boy, they didn't like that too much. I even got a knock on my door from the three-letter guys one day around Veterans Day, you know.
Right.
And I was about 24 years old. I was supposed to be in Vietnam. I was supposed to be out on the street corners talking about, I guess, the war in Vietnam, you know, and talking to the brothers and sisters on the corner about the injustice of the Vietnam War. And if you didn't have a quarter to buy a Panther paper, I would just give you one. I said, take this paper and read about it here, you know. And and I was always saying in one of the papers, you know, if the enemy, as Vietnamese saying, if the enemy refuses to get out, you know, annihilate them. And you know, that was one of the sayings in one of the Panther papers. Boy, well, it's confiscated over 500 of those papers to keep us from distributing those in the neighborhood. And so finally, the captain of the police department, he called us one day and he said, you guys can come get your papers now, you know. And we got them, and by that time we had a couple of issues out, you know, and we got those papers, and we looked at those papers and said, well, what's in this paper? You know, we hadn't even seen the paper. And that's when there was right there, you know, about the Vietnam War, about fascism, racism, and capitalism. And I don't want to get into all that right now, you know. We want to get a ceasefire going. We want to get the Palestinians a state, you know. We want to get health care for everybody, you know, and treatment and mental health for everybody. And the main thing is want to get the food in, you know, the caravans in with the food, and everybody can get water and food and health care.
Power.
And the power back on. Yeah. And my hat's off to Amy Goodman. You know, she's been doing an excellent job. You know, reporting from the Palestinian territory. You know,
Amy give it to you. Amy give it to you raw. And and a little closer to home, Miss J Funk over there. You know, Miss Jenka. she give it to you raw too. Dinka don't let you get
Okay.
away with nothing neither. You know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
shout out to
she's
the
down
comrade.
with the game.
Yeah, solid. She's been solid for years. One of the things, brother, that I was thinking about is he was talking about, you know, the protests in Vietnam. One of the things that was really unique about that time in comparison to today's time is that the fact that almost every, if not every, military base had an underground newspaper speaking out against the war in Vietnam.
I ran into a guy. I'm glad you brought that up. I ran into a guy, you know, with a plane used to take off, the jets used to take off from the aircraft carriers, you know.
Right.
When they were bombing North Vietnam, you know, they dropped more bombs in North. They dropped more bombs in North Vietnam than they did in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and including the wars that dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and Gaza. It's past that with the tonnage of Hiroshima now in Palestine, but anyway, let's stay focused and keep things out here in these streets. It's the only thing they understand. It's the only thing they understand.
Right.
We tried everything.
Right.
You know, the sit-ins, the mass arrests, you know, going to jail, you know, but they used to all that, you know, but that constant, you know, and you know, nationwide and worldwide, we keep this pressure on them. Something's got to give.
Something's got to
give.
Yeah.
It's just, and we have to. I'm not, you know, encouraging anybody, you know, but I'm just saying what I think, from my experience, what I think has been working, you know, and I have my friends, you know, I just like to, you know, look and pull back, you know, and if you don't ask me nothing, I don't say nothing, you know, and if you ask me something, I'll just give you, you know. I don't like to give advice, you know. I like to figure out what's best, you know.
Right on.
And I stick to the Party 10-point platform and program, you know, and wars against imperialism, and
it's still irrelevant. It's still relevant.
Yes, exactly, you know. And I never knew it. The jerker here sent me the picture of a website, and that was Malcolm in Gaza, you know.
Right.
And I never knew that.
Right.
But I know it now, you know. But then there's another picture of Muhammad Ali in Gaza, in Palestine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful picture. I'm going to send it to you.
Wow.
And when I do my walking tours, I'll show everybody that picture. But let me tell you, you want to know who had Muhammad Ali's eye at the time?
Who's that?
Malcolm, the man we call X.
That's right.
Yeah, but anyway, you know, like I said, everything going right. That was the first place Nelson Mandela went to when he got out of jail after doing almost 30 years in prison.
I think he was educating me on that a while back. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you probably seen that picture of Malcolm and Desmond Tutu, the good Anglican church guy in South Africa. He visited Palestine.
Right on. And God bless Mr. Tutu.
Yeah, God, you hit it on the head, you know, and you know, and I want to say this. You remember after they beat Tyree Nicholas in Memphis, Tennessee, beat him to death?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know the police chief there, head of the Scorpio unit, she had went to Israel to do all this training with those guys. You know, yeah. I'm pretty sure and not only that police department, but hundreds of police departments throughout America, they do the same thing.
Throughout the United States. And I think New York is one of the biggest ones that they go over there and they train. When I used to be on the block, back in my younger 20s, when I used to be out on the block, regrettably I was a corner boy. We used to see. Yeah, I got a lot of regret. We used to see the police would drive around with their lights on, and Chief Ramsey at the time said this is one of the tactics that they had learned from the Israeli police department, because they went. The DC police also went over there to train, and I didn't have a problem with the police keeping their lights on, because this means I can see you from the distance. So keep up the good work. You're easier to spot when you got the lights on. Yeah, sure.
We went through all that drug epidemic, crack cocaine epidemic. Pretty much wiped out a whole generation. And back in the 80s, and when it hit home in the 90s, that preschool to prison pipeline that Michelle Alexander talks about,
Yeah.
She's actually married to
the new Jim Crow, I think.
The new Jim Crow, yeah, and it's a spellbinding book, Well, I got a chance to meet her right here in Portland,
Okay.
And talk to her. And she actually told me how she came about beginning to write that book, And
right.
But anyway, I want to go back to Palestine, And I think if we just do what we know, and we don't have to read nothing into it, and claim no easy victories or nothing like that. Just do what we know, and just keep things out there in the streets, and morning, noon, and night, and just like we done back in Portland, Oregon, after for post George Floyd on Memorial Day in 2020. Now, that knee on the neck that Chauvelin used on George Floyd. That's a staple in Palestine.
One of my friends sent me a picture of a painting of George Floyd. I believe it was in Bethlehem, on a wall in Bethlehem.
Sure. And then even when they dusted Michael Ferguson in St. Louis, when they dusted him, the first ones out there to support the black community was the Palestinian people.
Right.
And I have friends here in Portland who actually have uncles and aunties, Palestinian friends back in St. Louis. And they're one and the same. And the town that I grew up in Richmond, California, the whole city council came out for a ceasefire in Palestine.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I knew it was something about that town. But let me tell you, when Huey went into the state capitol back in '66,
yes, sir.
Three of the guys that went with Bobby Seals and those guys was out of my hometown right there in Richmond, California. I looked at the picture and I said, I went to school with all those guys.
Get out.
Yeah, and and I said, okay, well, we came into Oakland and me and my brother in 1956.
Right.
And I came up to Northwest in 1961.
Palestine's been occupied for decades, but a home for centuries. This land is generations of my family's memories. To plant, grow, and nurture the symbol of peace. The olive trees guaranteed that our people could eat. Living with limitations, pushed down by the occupation. Wanna see the pain? Take a look at the people's faces. Imagine being kicked out of the only house you ever known. We're praying for our souls while they're praying on our homes. It's not easy to put this into words. Looking at my baby sister, is this something she deserves? listen, this one's for Shashara, hoping it can make a difference. Cause the same thing happened in 48. My grandparents got evicted and forced to move away to the refugee camp in Gaza. No, nothing has changed. They can never return, so that's where I am today. Getting calls from cousins to see if I am alive. This year is not fireworks that are lighting the sky. We're trying to celebrate an Eid and keep the faith. I guess you could say it's how memories are made. Palestine.
You know, something that I wanted to touch on real quick that's kind of like disturbing me is our social media and its attack on the black population. If you look at TikTok, you look at Facebook, you look at Instagram, it's nothing but gangsterism. People talking about, guns and drugs and glorifying, all this foolishness and the image. Now, I ain't the one to tell a woman, a black one, especially a black woman, how to dress or how to get down. But it seems like, there's no balance. And then we getting beat up in the street. The prison population with us is skyrocketing and all this type of thing. And I had a thought, at first I was super sad about how they bombarding our minds, with all this foolishness. Well, we should be concerned about what's going on in the streets and what's going on in the world. And it just seems like they're targeting our young people. They're targeting even our older people because they got this foolishness now, which makes me so angry. P. Diddy and T.D. Jakes, doing freak parties and all this type of thing. All this bullshit, man. All this bullshit, bro.
Like you said, let's leave that bullshit. Let's leave all that bullshit alone. I actually see a sea change out there, with the young generation,
Right.
And they ain't put up with all that bullshit no more, and they're keeping up with a lot of what's going on in the world, and with the preachers and the gangsterism and all that, and we stick to what's been working for us, and what's got the other people successful in the world, and how the other people defend themselves. And we always tried to lead. The party always tried to lead by example, And
right on.
Basically, in the beginning, he even wrote in one of his books, the black community wasn't a reading community back then, but now it's a reading community, And
right.
You see, just as many blacks in the bookstores now as you see at a concert, And,
right.
And years ago, you didn't have all the literature that you have out now. And I remember going in the bookstore back in 1966, right across from the main Portland Multnomah County Library. And the guy who was in charge of the bookstore, he says, anything with black on it sells like hotcakes. And there was only a few books out there, and that was Sophie Carmichael's book, Malcolm's X book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and Alex Haley's book, who did the autobiography.
Yeah.
But check this out. Harley barely get the book published. Now it's in its six or eight edited in over 40 languages. And who would have thought that all these years later?
Right on.
And if you want to go to how we got from where we were back then, and you want to go to where we are now, you read Malcolm, you read Baldwin, and to me, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be square. Everybody else is bullshit, And the party, the man we call X, he set the example, and they thought that I want to second guess nobody when they dusted Malcolm X, we got him now, It wasn't even the beginning because he had already laid the foundation, Now, Ali tried, but Ali got scared, and they turned him in the 80s. You get a chance, get that book, The Toxic Relationship Between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. And Ali got scared, and you wouldn't believe this, but in the 80s, he voted for Reagan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had started doing all those, Ford commercials, and he was
doing like a cleaver. He was doing
exactly. Exactly. But I got to tell you this: you never turn against your master. You never turn against the person that brought you, that got you over. You never turn against them. Yeah.
No.
You never go to the other side. Just like that's my point. And that's why even today, I don't want to go down the program. I don't do those other guys, and who showed up at the mosque that Sunday in New Jersey, where all the hit guys come out to dust and knock.
Yeah.
I don't do them.
Right.
And,
Elder. I found it. I was watching a documentary on who killed Malcolm X a couple of years back, and I thought it was awfully funny. Not funny, you know what I'm saying? Just a word that I'm using. It was awfully funny that the same person that allegedly, and I think he did, one of the hitmen out of New Jersey, that hit Malcolm, also shot at Khaled, and he's a good friend of Louis Farrakhan.
Oh yeah, well he showed up.
It gets deep. It gets deep.
That's Sunday, but don't get. He's got to live with that, just like the Western world's got to live. The good liberal democratic Western world's got to live with what's happening in Gaza, in Palestine, and with the genocide in this day and world, and he's got to live with that, and you know what? He's up in age now. I don't know how old he is, but I imagine
I think he's about 90.
Older than I am.
Okay. Yeah, I think he got you. He's about 90.
He looks good, but he'll never live that down.
The other thing too, comrade, is the thing that he kind of disappointed me in as well was when I had went to New Orleans for the Katrina recovery. I had gotten wind of from a very good source that Farrakhan had told the members of the Nation of Islam to stand down, to don't participate, to leave it alone.
Oh, he's good. He should have done better. That man, he's good at that.
Yeah.
And
that broke my heart.
They working hand in glove with the three letter guys. They did the same thing.
Come on now. Yes, sir.
And they working hand in glove with them. You don't
yes,
need
sir.
You don't need the you don't need to be if you got any kind of street savvy, you know that.
Yeah, rocket scientist. Yeah.
I remember at the Denver clinic one night they sent a Muslim guy down there. He's passed away now, and he wanted to say something about Malcolm X's name being on the dental clinic.
Right.
And before I knew it, I done reached in my pocket and wrapped it across his ass. And he took off, and I ain't seen him to this day. And that's how you nip shit in the bud. But I never knew until here recently, in the last 10 years or so, that whole family was working with the three letter guys. They had paid them all off.
Yeah.
And they used to have the guys here in Portland. They go out and do a demonstration, and I never knew this till several years later. And then what they do, they go downtown and get the envelope with the cash in it.
Right.
And
yeah.
But wait a minute now. And they would tell them, we don't care what you guys do, talking to young black guys, but just don't become Black Panthers.
Wow.
And one of the guys who was hung out with him, he approached me one day and started telling me this stuff. And so me and some of the comrades says, okay. Well, I have to tell you the rest when I see you, you know.
Right.
And you know, but we want to stay focused on Palestine and the troubles of present. That's what we want to stay focused on.
I absolutely, positively agree with that, and also, you know, the struggles that's going on for liberation and self-determination that's going on all over the planet. You know, against this European fascism. You know, some people tell me, you know, that, you know, we don't live in a fascist state. And I don't mind being wrong about my opinion. But to me, we already in a fascist state. It don't have to come. It's already here. And I likened it to, you know, like what Malcolm said, you know, like sitting in a dentist chair. You know, they Novocaine you up. You don't feel nothing, but they ripping teeth out your mouth and blood pouring all down your cheek.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you went there. Civil rights. I'm glad you went there. Civil rights was a miserable failure, and we still fight the same thing. It was fighting back in the 50s. Voter suppression, gerrymandering, registering to vote, and there are spellbinding stories about the Birmingham bus boycott and all that. Still fighting the same thing, and I remember all that stuff as 50 years ago, you know. And I said, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. I had just come from the state of Louisiana. I'm out in California now, you know. I'm a young man, 13 years old. And I said, oh, boy, I'm out in California now. I got an equal chance out here, you know. Then years later, I started listening to Otis Redding, you know, that record Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. You know the record, don't you?
I'm black.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I said, oh boy.
And the change was it Otis Redding saying the change gonna come, or was that someone? That was Sam Cooke, right?
That was the Impressions. Sam Cooke, yeah. Okay. Real winner, you know. And they actually performed at a birthday rally for Huey Newton one night, you know, back in the 68 birthday celebration. You know, we were all young and idealistic, you know, and we tried to hook up with other struggles throughout the world, you know, all the way from Venezuela, you know, to China. And I've been to China for a month in 1975, you know. And you know, and the guys in Africa, you know, Peter O'Neill and Mark and his wife, you know, Sister Charlotte. But I want to say this: this ain't the dirty old Russians, or the Chinese, or the Cubans, or the Venezuelan people that's doing this in Gaza. It's Israelis, you know. And where's the women? Where's the feminist movement in the Western world with all the babies being killed? You got over 9,000 babies being killed.
Speak on it.
You know, and then again, you know, the loud mouths from the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, we're all there.
Right.
We're there.
Speak on it.
Yeah, and you know, but that's all right. Everything come around, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, they come by, you know, and they get me all the time, you know, to do this and do that. I said, no. And I've been doing this for a long time. I said, what's your stand on Palestine, you know?
Right.
And free Palestine is not enough for me. I want you out there. I want you out there in the streets, you know.
Free Palestine, free the Gaza Strip, ceasefire, self-determination.
Talking to your friends and your family about it, and the main thing, talk to the preachers.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Even in my building, we get, a lot of the folks are addicted to drugs and alcohol and mental health issues. But even we in the lobby talking about Palestine and how wild that looks, how wild that whole situation is. It's even touching the hearts and minds of people who are drug addicted and alcohol addicted and dealing with their own personal trauma.
It was the same thing. It was the same thing back during the Vietnam War, young man. Let me tell you, the same thing. You can talk to some of the guys. I mean, football players, black football players, baseball players, sports guys, and everything. And about the Vietnam War, the average guy on the corner about the Vietnam War, and they would listen real good, but some of them went over there. My nephew did the same thing. He went over there and come back, and boom, he's addicted to something, and he lost his mind, and he's going to an early grave,
Yeah.
And but he lived down in the Bible Belt,
Okay.
But my friends out in California, they were trying to stop those ammunition trains, those troop trains and stuff like that. One of the guys out of the American University Law School, he lost both legs below the knees, trying to stop an ammunition train from loading up in the Bay Area. And he's traveled all over the Vietnam, North Korea, China, and every place. Venezuela, Cuba. He's traveled all over the world. He lives right here in Portland, Oregon.
Right.
I had him over for dinner.
Wow.
I had him over for dinner one night. And we are a lot of my friends, they and it's just not like a young lady that's here this morning, who set up this computer here, she's quiet, she moves methodically, she's out there, and well, at least you can do is show up, And I was just talking to Aaron the other day, and I said, where's all the? Well, I'm so glad Terminology Coach came out against it, And Michelle Alexander, she started fence straddling at first, but now she's come over to the other side.
Yeah.
Did you know Alice Walker was on the ship going there to break the siege? Did you know that?
What was that again? Repeat that for me one more time.
Alice Walker was on one of the ships going in to break the siege in Gaza.
Yeah, dig that. I didn't know that, but I remember Cynthia McKinney years ago. I believe around the time me and Jenka was in New Orleans, Cynthia McKinney was on a boat delivering supplies, and I believe they fired on her. Yeah. I believe they fired on. Yeah.
And guys lost their lives, but those are people with big hearts, But I wanted to say this: you take that sister out of St. Louis. Her name doesn't come to me now. She's a rental. She's in Congress now. She's a rental sister. Well, anyway, we have a whole new Islamic population here in America, and South Asian people, that's trying to make a change, and they are hooking up with all the progressive people in America, And even during the Black Lives Matter thing, even during the Vietnam War, and they would always say, "Well, I'm going over here to fight communism." Well, they couldn't even spell communism,
Right.
We're going over here to fight it, well, just like this thing on know, it didn't start at 10-7. This started when I was 5 years old.
Right.
And just like the Vietnam War didn't start back in when we got there in the 60s. No, it started way back when the French were there.
When the French, they were getting their butt tore up.
Exactly. You know, and you heard Malcolm talk about the turning point of Dien Bien Phu.
Right. Ho Chi Minh, that's my man right there.
Yeah, and you know, and you heard, but my friend, he went visit North Vietnam. Another friend of mine goes over there every year, and veterans for peace and witness for peace, you know.
Oh, veterans for peace, okay.
And these guys, but anyway, you know, with all that said, you know,
Elder, let me ask you a question. Was it which one was it? Was it South Vietnam, Korea, or North Korea that went over and dug those tunnels in Vietnam during that French War?
No, it was they dug their own tunnels.
I forget.
Yeah, they dug their own tunnels, you know, and those guys have studied those tunnel networks all over the world, you know. I don't want to go into all that here, you know, but they study all that stuff all over the world, and what works and what don't work, you know, and those field hospitals and well, that's the length you got to go to if you want freedom, you know, and just like down south there, you know, where the guys, you heard that story during the Montgomery bus boycott, during the Children's Crusades, you know, you heard that story. Where they were sicking the bull condoms, sicking the police dogs on the people, you know, on the kids. Right. Well, they had a New York Times reporter there covering that, and he says he covered World War II in Europe, and Italy, and France, and D-Day, and all that stuff. He said he had never seen the brutality that he had seen in Birmingham with the kids.
That's saying something.
I'm saying this, you know. But it was read on Amy Goodman's show one morning, just last year, and they had to interviewing some of the people there.
That's saying something. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, getting back to Gaza, you know, people may be under the impression, you know, oh, that won't never happen here. You know, it has happened here. It's happened here.
There's nothing into it, you know. What we got to do, if it does, you got to be ready to defend ourselves.
No doubt. You know, I remember when they dropped C4 on Move in Philadelphia. You know, I remember that. You know, I remember where white men jumped in planes and drop bombs on folks in Greenwood. You know, I remember, you know, we got about history, you know. Yeah, I remember.
I tell you, I ran into the mayor, who was mayor at the time in Philadelphia, who gave the order, who let the police chief talk him into doing that.
Right.
You know, I ran into him one time right here in Portland. He was going around the country on a program called the Big Brother program, you know. And I actually ran into some of the movement people here in Portland too, you know. Had already been to jail and done their time. And
Free Mumia, by the way.
Huh?
Free Mumia, by the way.
Yeah, sure. Exactly, right on. And also Leonard Peltier, you know.
Leonard Peltier. You know, but segueing into that, you know, folks, we losing a lot of we are fortunate to have brother Mr. Kent Ford on here, you know, to share here and impart his wisdom with us, you know, but we're losing a lot of our national treasures. You know, friends of mine, you know, we were talking about Malcolm, you know, I forget that. I kind of done forgot the woman's name, who was his nurse, his personal nurse. We lost her. Her name will come to me in a minute. We lost Elder Ronald Freeman. Yuri Yakubor. That was my sweetheart right there.
He would actually go to her house on Sundays, for meetings, anti-war meetings, and she held his head the day he was assassinated. But Spike Lee left that. Spike Lee left that.
He omitted her.
Movie. Yeah,
he omitted her. He omitted her, and other people did too.
But you know why? It wasn't good for the movie. Right here in Portland, when the movie came out, you never guess who was downtown at the theater begging the guy to give him the first night's proceeds. The Derby Lee guys. When he was alive, they wouldn't give him the time of day.
Wouldn't give him the time of day.
But let's you know that. I don't have to tell you that. Let's not go out.
Yuri, I miss you.
And you got those good Zionist Christians, and
right.
Those good Zionist Christians, and who want to assimilate, integrate into the system, and told them it's going to be better for them, and we got the best plans for you. But no mind about all that. Let's stop this killing now. Stop the killing, and let's get the aid into everybody.
Right. But look, I wanted to remind folks once again, we losing a lot of our elders that was in the party in the 60s and 70s, and I implore young people to look up U.S. Prisoners of war and write them letters. Momia is still with us. A few others are still with us, but we are losing. Sir?
There's another it's called about the guys in Guantanamo Bay, and you can go to that website. You can write those guys letters too.
Right on, brother. I didn't think of that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah, and then just go to show you, the British got their guys out because they knew it was bullshit.
Right.
If anybody else in the world was doing this, arresting people on the other side of the world and bringing them way over here and lock them up and lock them up and it'll be the biggest outcry you ever see.
Right.
Yeah. Oh no, but it's a good liberal Western world, And Hitler went over and got Gaddafi message, And
that was illegal. Yeah. Sir?
You remember when before Gaddafi got dusted, he was coming to New York for the annual UN celebration. You remember that, don't you?
I don't.
Okay. You never and they couldn't find accommodations for him, just like they couldn't find for Castro when he came here.
For Castro, yeah.
Yeah, and Che Guevara and the whole Cuban delegation. You never guess who rented him a place for the tent and everything? Donald Trump.
Wow.
Yeah, you never guess that. It cost Gaddafi about $40,000, but he got him a place where he could, where the whole delegation could do their prayers and put them up and everything.
I did hear something about that,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
I did hear
something about that. Yeah, but the same way when the Cuban delegation came here, Ms. Malcolm went on to Harlem and got him a place to stay.
Right.
At the Teresa Hotel.
Right. And shout out to the Cuban people, and Fidel and Che is one of my favorite revolutionaries in the world. His hard work and his dedication for liberation. But look, here at the People's Party, here at the People's Dinner Party, You know, we try to bring you substance, you know, some thought, you know, to give you some type of idea of what's going on in the world, you know, and you know, for progressive people, you know, and you know, one of the principles that I live by is all of us or none of us. It's not like you can liberate yourself and that's it. You know, it's all of us or none of us. We all have to be liberated. We all going to have to be free. You know, paraphrasing Chairman Fred Hampton, you know, black people need all power to the, you know, black people, all power to the yellow man, all power to the red man, you know, all power to, you know, white folks, because, you know, poor white people, they need some peace too. So, you know, it seemed like a lot of our leaders, as long as they were talking about separation of race and separation of class, they will allow these arenas to flourish. But the minute they started talking about unifying poor whites and poor blacks and Hispanics, you know, that's when you start catching hell. But I want to dedicate this show to the 7,000 children that had to go through this bullshit, you know, that done lost their life, you know, because of a bunch of grown-ass assholes who don't see them as human beings, who didn't allow them to reach their full potential. You know, I want to dedicate this show to them babies in Gaza, you know, and also I want to put out, you know, to the young people, my young so-called African American people, you know, I want to apologize for not being able to do more, because, you know, this world is really unfair in which we hand it to you. And I know y'all doing the very best you can to navigate through all the bombardment of social media and disrespect and all this type of thing. And, you know, y'all looking for a way. And I just want to tell you, don't give up. Don't give up. No matter what people may be telling you, you know, that you're not worth nothing. You are worth everything. You know, you're special. You're beautiful. And I wish that I could have done more, you know, to hand you a better world. But this is what it is. And you have to stand up, find a way to stand up and stay alive. And by all means, stay the hell out of their penitentiary. You know, the project that I live in is a reflection, among other projects in the United States and the world. I see it as a breeding farm, you know, for the prison industrial complex, for cheap labor, you know, for Wall Street, you know. But it's up to you guys now, you know, to find me people like Mr. Kent Ford, you know, and Aaron Dixon, you know, done laid groundwork. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to adjust our focus. And with that said, comrade, I want to thank you for allowing us. It's been a long time. It's been we've been trying to get this thing together for about 8 weeks, seemed like. But it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. I appreciate the text that you send me, the information that you send me. I appreciate the conversations that we have on the phone. You know, sometimes I tell Chris, I wish we could have recorded some of that stuff, because, man, with the things that he had to say was like, you know, off the chain, you know. But here at the People's Dinner Party, we'd like to thank Mr. Kent Ford, our special guest, even though you didn't hear or see her, you know, Miss Jinka, you know, my comrade for over 30-something years, seemed like. And also Chris, my producer, who without him I couldn't do too much of anything. Chris is not getting paid to do any of this stuff. You know, he has a job and he has other responsibilities. He's a hip-hop artist as well. Some of y'all may know him by his handle, Time, you know, and I want to thank him too. And we will win. Just hang in there. We will win. Don't be discouraged. We will win. And with that, all power to the people. Mr. Kent Ford, is there some last words that you would like to say as we close out the show, sir?
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. All power to the people. Thank y'all for coming out and listening to the People's Dinner Party. Much love to you. And we out of here. Thank you so very much.
Palestine's been occupied for decades, but a home for centuries. This land is generations of my family's memories. To plant, grow, and nurture the symbol of peace. The olive trees guaranteed that our people could eat. Living with limitations, pushed down by the occupation. Wanna see the pain? Take a look at the people's faces. Imagine being kicked out of the only house you ever known. We're praying for our souls while they're preying on our homes. It's not easy to put this into words. Looking at my baby sister, is this something she deserves? Growing up in a world where she's not treated the same. Denied the right to live free because of where she came. They wanna occupy this land, won't let them occupy my mind. I stay occupied aside as I write about my life, because my only mission is to make people listen. This one's for Sheikh Jarrah, hoping it can make a difference. Cause the same thing happened in 48. My grandparents got evicted and forced to move away to the refugee camp in Gaza. No, nothing has changed. They can never return, so that's where I am today. Getting calls from cousins to see if I am alive. This year is not fireworks that are lighting the sky.